Cable Security makes it easy to stay aware and stay in control of your home wherever you are. User-friendly interface allows easy navigation for lights, locks thermostat, video and garage doors. Never worry about leaving your garage door open or the front door unlocked. Your mobile app can send alerts to your phone for alarm and no alarm events. Know when your children arrive home from school with video response. Make sure your home is powered by Troy Cable Security for ultimate access, awareness, and protection.
When it comes to surgery, precision is perfection. The very latest technology available ensures the best possible outcome. The Mako Robotic Arm-Assisted Surgery System is now available at Troy Regional Medical Center. Skilled orthopedic surgeon Dr. Robert L. Liljeberg and his team provide patients with faster recovery and better movement after a knee replacement surgery. When accuracy matters, you deserve the very best. Troy Regional Medical Center.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
This is my chart from Southeast Health.
And you're going to want to make it yours.
Not because it's free,
but because it's priceless. Because with my chart, you can schedule appointments online with your provider.
You can email your provider and get answers.
Get test results.
refill prescriptions.
And manage your family's health care.
You know how we all want health care to be easier?
But no one seems to listen?
Well, someone did. Southeast Health.
To get your free My Chart app,
visit your app store or go to southeasthealth.org.
Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. My name is Mike Amos. His name is Bill Rice Jr. and his name is Forrest Lee as we get started on week number 2 in July. And of course, before long, by the end of the week, they've got to be starting to kick that ball around before long. And of course, I know Charles Henderson and Pike County and Goshen and all the other high schools around the area are already hitting it hard.
There in this tournament season, I see the Messenger has a story, state tournament here in Troy at the Sportsplex for the 7 and 8 year olds, and I saw Brian Meadows at an event that his wife was putting on, Jenny, and he was telling me about all the teams that are from all over the state that are in Troy at the Sportsplex.
There were 25, and the Troy 8 and under advanced. And they're back in action today at 9 o'clock.
All right.
There were 25 teams and
25 teams. You think how many mamas and daddies and grandparents would follow a 7 and 8 year old baseball player?
And something I would like to find out, Forrest, is are they in? They've been beaten. This a double elimination?
It's a double elimination. They've been beat once.
Yeah.
But they won again in dramatic fashion, I believe, and they played today. The 8 and under All-Star team will be back in action today at 9 o'clock.
This morning.
9 o'clock this morning. Mm-hmm.
And of course they're still in it, and of course they're 8-year-old boys. And who would have thought? Back when when I was growing up playing Little League ball, you didn't think of playing Little League ball when you were 8 years old. But now they have an organized state tournament team and everything for 8-year-olds here in Troy.
I was talking to Brian at the Summer Spotlight is a dramatic arts camp for children that his wife Jenny Davis Meadows puts on.
Yeah, I've heard it's really a good camp.
And Maggie's going through it this week, but Jack went through one last week.
Oh, really?
But anyway, that's where I saw Brian Meadows. He was supporting Jenny at a performance the kids were giving. And we were talking about all the tournament teams. You have different ages. Used to be you had Dixie Youth, which was 11 and 12, Dixie Boys, which was 13 and 14, and Dixie Majors, which was up to 17. You'd have about 3 tournament teams.
Oh yeah.
They got Ozone.
Now they've got about 30.
Yeah, I imagine.
And boys and girls, and they go down to about age 7. And where you used to have Dixie boys being 13 and 14, now they have a team just for 13-year-olds. Now they have a team just for 14.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. And of course, I would think if you look closely, they imagine they have something for 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's just unreal, the baseball that has been played and softball, also for girls.
But that brings a lot of tournaments to our town, and a lot of money and a lot of exposure. I hope all these people drive through Alabama's most beautiful campus while they're here.
Well, let me tell you this. One of the best softball coaches in America for the aged girls that he works with is Scott Reeder. You ever heard that name, Scott Reeder?
Yes.
He works right over here, and he also coaches the girls, the Dixie Bells, and he is really an outstanding coach. He doesn't have any player in the fire. He coaches these. He's been coaching these girls for 7-8 years.
Wants to help.
Well, the Troy Dixie Bells finished runner-up in the state tournament. They lost to Greenville.
All right,
runner-up in the whole state.
Yeah. And I think they played in Dothan, but they finished runner-up.
How old are they? What age group are they? You know?
Let's see. Addison Armstrong, I know, is on that team.
13,
She's
14,
probably about 13. She's a ninth grader, so probably a young ninth grader.
But old Scott is amazing. He does a great job. There's another guy over here that used to play baseball for Troy University that works for Troy Cable, and he that also coaches some of these boys teams. So
I will tell you one thing that's changed is Dixie Majors used to be a big deal. That was sophomore, juniors, seniors in high schools. Now they did have a pre-majors, and they broke that up into 15 and 16, 14 and 15.
That's right.
15 and 16, and then I think they had 17 and 18, which was high school kids.
That's right.
That was a big deal. I mean, when your team played in a Dixie Majors tournament, it was like the best high school teams had pulled their best talent and were playing each other. Well, those are now gone because all the older kids play travel ball
or American Legion.
Legion. Tournament ball though is still, at some ages.
Younger ages.
That's right, younger ages. Well, you're exactly right. I can remember when Brian Meadows played on the 15 and 16-year-old pre-majors, and then the majors were like you said, 17 and 18.
He told me that we started talking about World Series, and I said, I went to the Rock Hill, South Carolina World Series that Troy won. Mike went to.
Yeah.
And he said, I was a year older than those kids. So he knew them all and played with them, but he was on the pre-majors. And they finished second in the state, but the next year they went to the World Series in Plano, Texas, he said. And he said to this day he remembers it. He said they rolled out the red carpet, and it's one of the great memories of his life playing in a Dixie pre-majors World Series in Texas. This is a guy that played Major League Baseball, and now he's organizing the tournament for all these 7 and 8-year-olds. So he wants to make sure they have a good experience and memory, just like he did.
Right. We'll bring Mike Amos in.
And they had the draft of Major League Baseball.
Morning. Mike Amos calling in from Grayton Beach, Florida. Is it pretty down there?
Yeah, the sun's out. We're listen to this story. We got to bed last night, and our girls were going to go back to preschool today. We kept them out for the week of the 4th, and they'd hired a new director in town from up north, and apparently her daughter started last week when we weren't there at the preschool, and the new director and her daughter have COVID.
Oh, God.
So now our whole preschool is shut down. So
wow.
We don't even have any babysitting lined up, so we don't know what we're going to do this week.
Oh, boy.
Well, COVID's hitting the British Open.
Yeah.
Bubba Watson's not going to play because of contact tracing, and Hideki Matsuyama, he has COVID, and he will not be playing, and some others are withdrawing, some for the Olympics, some for travel restrictions. So it's affecting a lot of places.
Yeah, we find all this out last night at 9:45 is when they let us know.
Oh, boy.
We're scrambling this morning.
Well, it's affecting people. I mean, I can't tell you the work that my wife and others put into the Vacation Bible School for First United Methodist Church. And they got 2 days in of a 4 or 5 day program, and one person had COVID, and so that was.
Hey, get your shot, please.
But this is making most of these people, though, in a lot of these places have gotten their shot, so it's strange.
Oh, I know of a young fella who I heard it Saturday morning. He joined the United States Army. He had his shots before he went. He developed COVID. He's in the hospital, and they're going to discharge him because it flared up some asthma. So he's fixed to be discharged from the Army, and we talked about it last week. The Army's fixed to mandate that all soldiers get their COVID vaccine, and they're going to start doing that.
Well, that will help them get their numbers, won't it? To help the Democratic Party get their numbers, won't it? If all the service people had to.
Well, this is the United States Army, and probably
it'll help Pfizer and.
And Pfizer wants the third shot approved. Yeah. And so if you've had it twice,
if you got everybody, it's not only just all the active duty military, it's all the people, the civilians that run the military,
the Department of Defense, the people who
the contractors or whatever. So you mandate somebody has to get this vaccine, and you're gonna have to get it every year. Man, you're talking about military active and reserve components. I would say it's about 6 million people. Then you throw in the civilian contractors, that's another 6. That's 12 million jabs, 2 jabs. So that's 24 million jabs. And then you do it every year. And you see how quickly the numbers get
and
big.
It's, when you get this it's free. It's not free. We're paying for all of it, and it's high dollar shots.
Yeah,
there's no telling. I wonder how much they're charging.
That's right.
Or they're paying the people who administer the shot. How much the government? They're probably overpaying them.
That's right. You're right.
For the shots.
The government's printing press is
sorry,
running.
Maggie. Sorry, Jack. Yeah. Sorry, Abby.
Show them let me show everybody what we got.
Yeah, let's go to good news.
I've been mentioning it for several months ago. I interviewed Mike Amos. I said, "Boy, your career in TV would make a good feature story." And so months ago, I interviewed him at his house, and then I got busy with other assignments, and finally, I told my little brother Bobby, the publisher of the Messenger, I said, "I need to do my Mike story." He said, "Well, do it." And so finally, my feature story on Mr. Mike Amos and his career at Troy Cablevision is the cover story in this week's Troy Life magazine, which should be hitting the streets today.
Well, that's wonderful.
And I really enjoyed it. And what it does, it tells really how TV 52 and Troy Cable got started, which traces back to Mike going to Mr. Harold Freeman, the founder of this company, and saying, "You know what, Harold, you need to broadcast Charles Henderson High School football games. And I'll announce it, if you need an announcer." And Harold said, "That sounds like a great idea." And so Mike Amos and KT Cole and Mr. Freeman and Bogey Freeman, they started broadcasting those games in 1986. And then they would they didn't have live, so they would rebroadcast them on Saturday morning. And that's the birth of Troy Cable, where Troy watches itself. From those high school football games, then you started getting the parades and the proms and the banquets and et cetera, et cetera. But it all started, and so that led to really, I guess, Mike, this show. Eventually, after you did some TV, you said, "Let's do a morning TV show."
Well, I actually started doing the morning TV show even prior to that. We were even around right at 80, 89, we started doing that, and then later on, Bud Casey came around, and we added it. Just to let you know what I was doing. I was doing an hour and a half in the morning at the Today in L.A., and then we came back and with Bud another hour. An hour. We did an hour. So 2.5 hours of sports talk.
The story is meant to be a tribute to this man. It was probably embarrassed him. I laid it on kind of thick, but it was high school football games, and so when you think about it, you're saying, all right, well, then you got a home game, and then you go to Greenville, then you go to Opp, and then you sit in the bleachers and broadcast it. But then it grew from, let's introduce the players from every team, and so you got Mike Amos with a mic in his hand talking to every single player on every team in Pike County.
And Elba, and
then the other counties, junior high teams. I bet he introduced when you were the coach of the Charles Henderson Middle School. I bet he introduced. So you think about all the thousands of young teenagers that Mike has given their TV debut to by saying, "Give me your name, position."
And what do you bench?
Is that what you do? Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, I don't want to mess with you. You're a bigger boy. I don't want no trouble.
but we went to Ozark, and we went to Daleville, and of course it was fun to get out and get around and see people and of course get fired up. At this time of year, I get fired up, so I'll even get fired up this year about. I won't be doing it, but I'd get fired up about it.
Well, how long would you would interview the Charles Henderson High School players? Everybody from the third string safety to and the cheerleaders too. I didn't mention that in the story.
If they were a part of that program, even the band, we've done the band too many times.
Well, that had to take you an hour and a half to go through all the players.
But I loved it. I loved it because of the kids, and the football season started, and everybody got excited. And, it was fun, and of course the junior high. Hey, I couldn't tell you how many junior high ball games I announced from James A. Baker Field over the years. But the reason I did it, I wanted people to know who was playing football. Football is not the most popular sport anymore, and I felt like when they were on the air and you could watch them on TV, it promoted them pretty well, and that's what I was there to do.
It did, and.
Not fancy, wasn't fancy. We just walked up and got in those stands and got a camera and started going.
I should have made a point that everywhere Mike Amos went, Troy Cable was sending a photographer and videographer to go with you.
Yeah.
So
and I'll tell you this, you're right, exactly. I was meeting them out there, and many times I had to chew them out for not being there. but I'll tell you this, that if I didn't do it, I could not. I wouldn't feel right about walking down that junior high field or watching them play, because I normally had announced their game, and when I didn't announce it, boy, they jumped all over me.
Isn't that funny?
We were just,
and another point.
Did you write an article that he did this freak and so what?
Yeah, I put this somewhere. All of this unpaid.
Hey, listen, I did it because I wanted to do it. So people ask me. Even today, why I do what I do it because I want to do it, and I've never done anything for Troy Cable that I did not want to do, whether I got paid for it or not. I didn't want pay. I wanted the kids. I sincerely wanted. And I don't try to act like I'm so goody, but I think I did promote the kids in Troy and Luverne and Brundage and Goshen. I promoted them. I guarantee you, Goshen High School will be sitting there. Where's Mike doing their picture game? Where's Mike Amos? I don't do it anymore.
And then not only that, you've got something that because of videotape.
Pike Liberal Arts.
People could record these. Record these games.
Pike County High School, and everybody be intimidated because you see Benny Monahan and Cornelius.
That's right. You're exactly right.
But let me ask you, don't you think there's some people when they get to be about 35, 40 with their buddies, sitting around, I say, let's get out the tape and watch Charles Henderson and Andalusia, 1989. Right. They do it, and they love it.
No question about it. It made me feel good to do it, and I enjoyed doing it. And again, I'm a Trojan through and through, and I enjoyed every minute of doing those games.
Well,
I was around when it first started, and after every game, Bogey and Harold and Dad, and sometimes KP, I know I was always tagging along. We'd always go out to eat dinner after the games too.
We had good fellowship.
Sit around to hear Bogey and Harold talk about everything.
Yeah.
Well, and then another point that I hope comes through in the story. I mentioned it, but there wasn't a cable company anywhere I know of in America doing this, folks. I mean, you're talking about a small town, back then had a population of 13,000 people, televising all of these events. Well, first of all, most towns, if you go back and think about it, it's like Troy now. They just have one cable company. It's so rare to even have competing cable companies, which Troy had. And then the way that Troy was going to compete successful, Mr. Freeman is he was going to put names and faces and voices on TV, and it worked like a charm because he had somebody like Mike Amos. Now, Mike's not the only one. There are other people that did it too, but this is, I think, this is a novel story because there weren't hardly anybody in America, in any community that was doing what we do.
But something else I want to take great pride in, I led off the Trojan Walk every Saturday, every game day Saturday. And what I wasn't a part of it exactly what I was just out there getting them fired up. And this is one of those pictures of getting them fired up. And I love that picture because that pretty much
captures you.
It captures me on game day at Troy University, and we are Troy. And of course, I just jumped ahead of the cheerleaders and got everybody fired up for the walk. And Troy's walk is as good as anybody's now, and we're so proud of it.
Well, here's some more pictures.
There's a good one of you and Michael, of you and Larry Blakeney and your dad.
That was
a real good one.
Real good one to Mike. I think he'll enjoy this.
So I see Mike, a young Mike, talking to Troy University players. You know, he used to introduce every Troy University
and look, you
player.
can tell that
I was 120 of them.
That's right, and I was fairly fit back then.
And then I see a Charles Henderson middle school player that looks like a big boy. Or maybe that's Charles Henderson High School.
Yeah, that's what that was. That's how we did it.
On the set.
And then our Coach Fountain is one of the class guys that's ever lived in Troy. We didn't talk about it. I'm sure you did these coaches shows all the time.
In fact, we did it every week, and we're going to do it probably again this week. I'll probably do the coaches show again this year. And that's another good thing that we do is get everybody fired up and ready for Friday's game. And
well, that's less than 40 days away.
And I look like I don't know who I look like there, but there's a bald-headed picture of me.
Well, then this magazine is left at businesses and corporations. You just pick it up when you're sitting in the dentist's office or getting your tires changed.
And don't throw it away and let other people read it.
Or bring it home. Or if you don't get one, just go to the messenger office and they'll give you one. Also has a real good story by Jane Treadwell on Lewis Stringer that worked at the recreation department forever. You know, Lewis was born, he couldn't hear or speak, but he was one of the great employees in Troy Recreation Department history, and so there's a touching feature story on him. There's some pictures of some Pike County oddities. I recommended that story, Mike, to take pictures of little odd, crazy things in Pike County, like the phone booth on the quad. They've got a feature story on the prettiest cakes and cupcakes. They had a contest on that. So, excellent magazine.
And I'll tell you this, let me say this, and I won't say any more about it. And of course, I was proud of it, and I appreciate it. You did a very good job of also bringing in Harold Freeman, because without Harold and the Freeman family, I couldn't have done any of this. They've always been supportive of me. There's no question I would be doing the play-by-play of Charles Henderson football up until I croaked, as far as they were concerned. But I wanted to see it done well, and now that I turned it over to Wally and
it started off with Charles Henderson games, but then soon other people came around and said, well, we'll do the Goshen game, we'll do the Pike County game, we'll do the Pike LeBlanc game.
You couldn't be all at every place at every once. One thing I did during this whole deal, I made sure that, boy, when there was a championship, I was going to be at the broadcast table, and I feel like some of my best work was during championship games, and
well, you were at
I felt good about it.
I remember watching live Pike LeBlanc's Morgan Academy baseball a couple of years
Yeah,
ago from
yeah.
Riverwalk Stadium.
Oh yeah, we've had a lot of luck. Michael was able to tail in.
A lot of times in the early days, they would film games, and then it would turn out the camera wasn't working.
Oh yeah,
he would go on video trips, and they thought they were filming, and next day find out there was no tape.
Well, that didn't happen much. That was just in the early beginning.
That happened at least 5 or 6 times.
Well, look, I don't know. I'm sure maybe it did, but heck, that was out of 1,000 broadcasts.
You know, I can relate as a journalist, but, you know, I'm a journalist. Every story I've written, somebody had to take a picture, and I never worked at papers that had their own photographers, so I was taking the pictures. And I can't tell you the number of times that I went and I had my camera, but no film in it.
Well, things like that happen, but it didn't happen much at Troy Cable. And again, Steve Kemp and his generosity. You know, he's stood by me through all of this.
He's been there
that
almost
I'm going through
all
now.
of those. I think it's 34 years. Steve's probably been here for 25 of those years, 30.
I tell you what, Steve is a dear friend, and he's a guy that has always believed in me, and I appreciated it very much. And you know, I'm not as sharp as I once was. I used to be pretty sharp, and I could remember everything, and broadcasts were smooth, and you know, you can tell that there's you know, I have some health problems, but at the same time, he has been very faithful to me, and I hope he'll continue to be that way.
Well, this is, I think this takes you back to when you were about 40 years old, and I mentioned in the story that here's when you were 40 years old. You were commuting to Montgomery to your job at the Alabama Development Office.
That's right.
Every day, back and forth, 100 miles to Montgomery. Then you were refereeing basketball games
all over the world.
College and high school basketball games all over the world. And then doing all your Troy Cable stuff. And then somehow finding time to be the #1 fan of the Troy Trojans. So when they went to Nebraska or Idaho, you were out there cheering for them, too.
That's right.
I don't know how you did it all.
Where was he for his family? I'd come on the lot and say, "Where's Dad?" I was calling the game. Oh, well, Neil's getting married. Neil grew up in our house. Dad said the game's more important than going to Neil's wedding.
Boy, look at that! Isn't that why does he want to say stuff like that? It's nobody's business but ours, you know.
I know, but I'm just saying you miss family.
Well, yeah, I did. Yeah, that was my responsibility, and you know, and I had to do it. You're right. I've never walked away from a responsibility.
You sacrificed a lot to do all this as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, let me tell you something. That boy knows 100 times over again that I love him and love his whole family. There's no question about it.
I know, but
there's no sense of carrying it.
But I'm just saying, you really did. I mean, you took it very seriously calling games.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I was responsible. I mean, it was my responsibility to get the Charles Henson on the games to make sure at 9 o'clock Saturday morning people could always know that that's when that game began and ended.
And man, I watched it, you know, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have any
Dog
family playing.
Yeah.
I think your first year might have been my little brother Bobby's last year, so I think some of his senior games are caught on Troy Cable tapes. But I would watch it, and you know, I can remember Coach Jeffcoat teams and Sincade Pennington games and Terrell Paul games, and I would. I didn't go to these games like I used to, but I could wake up on Saturday morning and watch these kids play.
One of my favorite sayings was this. And at tailback, Ronaldo Sincade Pennington, 5'8", 187-pounder from right here in Troy, Alabama. Ronaldo Sincade Pennington was the greatest. He was the greatest high school player I've ever seen.
John Johnson for a season was the best I'd ever seen at Charles Henderson.
Well, he was pretty good, but
Sincade overall career is the best player ever.
Sincade could outrun your buddy backwards. Sincade was a true great athlete. Of course, John Johnson was too, the late John Johnson, and And I tell you another one, and I know I make his grandma feel good every time I say it, but I thought Ingram was one of the best players I've ever seen in high school at Charles.
Well, in that story, I could have written it several ways, but I could have done a sidebar on just all the great players and games you've seen. Well, we've talked a lot about players. I mean, there has to be a lot of games that just came down to the final minute.
Oh, boy, we've seen them. I saw one that even after playing against Enterprise, Enterprise is a great program and everything. And when that little red-headed linebacker shot the gap and tackled their quarterback in the backfield, and Charles Simpson won, that wasn't a championship game, but that was a big game against Enterprise that I thought
was that Ashley Lewis?
What's his name now?
Was it Ashley Lewis? Or,
no, it was the red-headed boy. His dad was a policeman.
Oh, Barron. No.
No.
Schreiber. Louis Schreiber.
Yeah, Louis Schreiber. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Schreiber shot the gap. And,
that's Elizabeth Radford's son and Sonny's Schreiber's son, Louis.
Yeah, Dad, we need to mention Alan Jones. Dad did a lot of games.
Oh, yeah, he sure did. He's a good friend, yeah.
Probably the longest.
Yeah, I should have done that in the story.
Robert started doing the games, and then Alan came in.
Yeah. And Robert,
I don't know if you put this in the article, though, but Dad and Robert, and then Dad and Alan Jones would be in the locker rooms after the games to cheer them on after victories.
Well, let me tell you something. Alan Jones, I'll tell you, I'm a big Troy fan. I'm a big Trojan, but none any bigger than Alan Jones. And his final, he would, summarize the game, and he really did a good job.
He was good. He was really good. I should have mentioned that. I just said that there's been several color men, and it started with KT, but then Allen did it longer than KT.
Then Coach Sadler came along, and he went, he did some of it too, and again. But with KT and Alan Jones, you couldn't get any bigger Trojan fans, supporters.
They were perfect. They were perfect.
And but again,
I got to do the games in maybe the greatest season of Charles Henderson's history. The runner-up season in 2014 was probably the greatest Charles Henderson team ever.
With Austin Ingram and
John Johnson.
John Johnson, boy, that would have come in, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was a great.
So that last game
McBride,
was
Richard McBride.
Ron Denny to Aniana, and that was the greatest coaching.
To Don Jacobs.
Don Jacobs.
Yeah, Don Jacobs really.
They had gone 3 consecutive times. Aniana had, and that was their first win.
Yeah. Well, again, I do appreciate it, my friend, and I hope you guys out there will pick up do they put this in the mail, or what do they do?
Well, they leave it at about 100 businesses and corporations and offices. So be on the lookout for it. If you want to know where to find one, I would say call the Troy Messenger, and they can tell you. I don't know where they leave them.
I know Bird's Drugs is one.
But
Bird Drugs has it,
and I'll tell you, Rice, I'm humbled by this. I really am, and I do appreciate, and if you read it, I hope you reach in there and grab a part of my life, that just loving my town and who I am and where I'm from. That has always meant a lot to me, and I'll say it again. Go ahead and shake that hand with a big, strong grip. Look at him straight in the eyes. And be proud of who you are and where you're from when you're doing with any walk of life.
We can't shake hands anymore, though. You just have to do the fist bump, don't you?
No, well, shake hands is back. We can shake hands again.
Yeah.
We'll be down at Bird's Drugs after the show today, signing autographed copies.
I tell you what, I will take these boys to breakfast this morning.
I gotta go back and.
No, but you
I got a
eat
dental
breakfast.
appointment
Y'all
at 8.
can eat breakfast this morning. But we do eat breakfast at Birds a lot.
But I want to make this point about this story. I'm good at coming up with stories. Mike, you're good at coming up with stories. Forrest is good at coming up with stories.
Yeah.
But what makes this as a story is that nobody else in the country was doing this. I mean, we take it for granted in Troy. We got this cable company and this man and people that are going to cover all these events. Well, go to Greenville, go to Opp, go to Andalusia, go to Hartselle.
Enterprise.
This ain't happening in those towns, or pick any other 49 states in America. You know,
and you would be surprised how many people from out of town found out about it and were ordering their game. You know, especially if they won their game, they were ordering the game from Troy Cable.
Yeah, I bet.
I
bet a lot of them said when you were announcing, you and Alan and the bleachers at the other teams, and I bet some people said, "Why can't our cable company do this?"
Well, exactly right.
But you know what happened is I moved to Birmingham when I was 23. Then Vestavia started calling games at Vestavia Hospital, and Mountain Brook had a guy calling games, so you could watch that. And then Tuscaloosa had a guy that was calling games. That's the only other places in the state I knew that was going on. But it was about 10 years after Troy Cable.
That's right. So they finally did it, but then I guarantee all they were doing was just football games. I mean, the football games is just a tiny percentage of what Mike did.
Sometimes I get talking about Harold Freeman. I get sort of emotional because he and I were very close friends, and he went out on the limb to do this local sports, and it grew and grew and grew, and you know what it is today and so forth. But Harold, though, don't tell us how many times we'd be pulling up, getting ready to go to the game, like maybe 5 o'clock to go to out to Andalusia or whatever, or 4:30, and we got ready, and here comes Harold, and we jumped in that Mercedes and took off. And whether he had been up, probably got up 4 o'clock that morning and still going at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Harold Freeman was an exceptional person.
Well,
and a great Trojan.
Let's tell the story of Troy Cable here. Troy Cable started in the mid-'70s, as I understand it, with Harold and some other silent partners. One of them was my great uncle Bill Chapman, and they started Troy Cable. Did pretty well, I think. Then the big cable company said, well, heck with this. We're going to buy these guys out and shut them down. So in the early 80s, that's what they did.
Yeah.
So Troy Cable did off to a good start. Then they gets bought out, shut down. And when you do that, you have a non-compete clause that you say, yeah, I'll take the money, but and so I can't compete with you for 3 years. So Harold sat for 3 years. And I bet by about year one, he said, I'm going to do it again. And he did it again. When that non-compete was over, he started it up again, and he did it by himself this time. This was in the mid-1980s, and he was competing against a company that had cable franchises all over America, a billion-dollar company. And he blew their doors in. I mean, it went. So here's what you would have had. You would have, I think, a Store Cable or something like that. Store Cable.
I thought it was Comcast or Charter.
It was a couple of them.
They changed names too. Let's say it's Comcast.
Yeah. Comcast
Cable has 100% of the cable market in Troy. Then Troy Cable comes along, and then starts doing this television. I bet in 2 years, don't you bet Troy Cable had 80% of the market share? It had flipped that hard. And then so little Troy Cable Vision, with its probably 10 employees, heck, now it's in 12 counties, I think. I don't think people know that. I mean, it's not in all the counties, but there's little slithers of counties. Lake Martin is watching this show right now.
How about on Facebook? How about on Facebook across the world that you actually can watch this? My aunt out in Seattle area, that's where she lives. Her daughter has picked it up on Facebook, and it's been a lot of fun doing that. But like you said,
that's our live show. We're going to do 2 games a week.
Yeah, he's already got the football program together. It's gonna be a lot of fun there. I got me a good place out there in the end zone to watch the game now.
You like that, watching in the end zone?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Give me a hot dog, a couple of hot dogs, and maybe some boiled peanuts, and sit back and enjoy it.
You know, when I was covering games, I would do the first half. This is Troy games, Troy University. I did the first half in the press box and get the free food that they had. And then in the second half, I'd go down and take pictures, because you had to do it both. And I always like to stand right by the goalpost, like Coach Bryant in pre-games, and because you could get some cool pictures there. But the angle from watching the whole game from the goalpost in the end zone is really cool. You watch the plays develop.
Yeah, you watch the whole
game. Of course, back to Troy Cable, they look at them now, well over 100 employees.
Well, I hope everybody, here's the point I was trying to make. Little bitty small cable company competing against a big multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. Now, today, well over 100 employees in 12 counties. And, now the big thing is broadband, fast internet, cable. But it all, you see what I'm saying? It all goes back to, let's cover a high school football team.
I'll tell you a story about all this. There was an offer made to move, cable, fiber optic cable from Troy to Luverne. Everybody was ready to, oh man, you're going to spend all this money. What are we doing running cable to Luverne? This is Harold telling Harold, why are you doing this and why are you doing this? And Harold didn't even blink an eye. He spent the money out of his own pocket to move fiber optic cable to Luverne, and there goes the rest of the story.
So to get to Luverne, you had to go 32 miles, and then you had to wire it all through every street in Luverne.
And then you started moving, and then you got some grants, and moved that more and more income into the Troy Cable.
That is a lot of digging, a lot of laying. And it's a cable company, but it all goes back to this little cable, doesn't it? Once it was up on the telephone poles, and now it's under the ground.
I'm not an authority on cable TV by any means, but I do know this, that very few cables have the range that Troy Cable has throughout the wiregrass.
Well, he was a visionary, because. And then he spent the money. I guess he had a good banker, because it took out a lot of loans, I'm sure, because it takes years to get a return on investment on that.
A lot of people don't realize that Troy Cable owns what used to be Luverne Cable, and that was a small cable company at one time, but then also Ozark, and now they go all the way up to Lake Martin and places like that already.
Pike Road,
Pike Road, and
Montgomery. I make the point. You made the point to me that Troy Cable, they are super important to businesses that want to exist in our area, because what do they care most about? They want to have super internet service to run their businesses. They got to have it, broadband, fast, reliable. And so nobody does it better than Troy Cable. And earlier, really, even out in the sticks. And so these companies could have super fast, good cable. So that helped Pike County recruit and maintain and allow to grow all these industries. And that all goes back to televising high school football games on Friday night, believe it or not.
Well, I tell you what, it all goes back to the vision of one Harold Freeman, and we do appreciate him so much. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
I've got to go to the dentist.
Troy Cable Security makes it easy to stay aware and stay in control of your home wherever you are. User-friendly interface allows easy navigation for lights, locks thermostat, video, and garage doors. Never worry about leaving your garage door open or the front door unlocked. Your mobile app can send alerts to your phone for alarm and no alarm events. Know when your children arrive home from school with video response. Make sure your home is powered by Troy Cable Security for ultimate access, awareness, and protection.
When it comes to surgery, precision is perfection. The very latest technology available ensures the best possible outcome. The Mako robotic arm-assisted surgery system is now available at Troy Regional Medical Center. Skilled orthopedic surgeon Dr. Robert L. Liljeberg and his team provide patients with faster recovery and better movement after a knee replacement surgery. When accuracy matters, you deserve the very best. Troy Regional Medical Center.
A personal touch, a high level of trust, Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
This is my chart from Southeast Health.
And you're going to want to make it yours.
Not because it's free,
but because it's priceless. Because with my chart, you can schedule appointments online with your provider.
You can email your provider and get answers.
Get test results.
refill prescriptions.
And manage your family's health care.
You know how we all want healthcare to be easier?
But no one seems to listen?
Well, someone did. Southeast Health.
To get your free My Chart app,
visit your app store
or go to southeasthealth.org.
That'll be on the 20th.
All right, we're back on the air.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass right here in Troy. And believe you me, they're dealing like no other place in town. And, of course, looking at what Jason Gregory has done since he's been in Troy, sold cars after cars after cars at very, very good prices. Remember, nobody beats the Premier deal, nobody. Want to mention also Troy Bank and Trust Company. Remember, Troy Bank and Trust Company is the only bank you'll ever need with 14 locations is in the surrounding areas and surrounding towns to represent that bank very well. Forrest Lee had to get out of here for
he had to go to the dentist.
Personal reasons like going to the dentist. And of course, Bill Rice is with us. And
let me read some of the headlines that Forrest always gets us with his research. Atlanta Braves star outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr. suffered a complete tear of his right ACL and will undergo season-ending surgery.
Oh boy.
He was hit. He's the Braves' leadoff man. He'd hit .283 with 24 homers and 52 RBIs. He scored 72 runs and had 17 stolen bases. Gosh, that's only in 70% of the season he's done.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Braves are done. There's no way you can replace a guy like that. He's the best player on the team.
Man, I can relate. He tore his ACL. I tore my left ACL and MCL and cartilage. And Memorial Stadium, where that picture of you is, I was covering the punt, and I think it was Bobby Money was the defensive back that was. I was the outside wide guy going down covering the punt, and then I was going about fast as I could go, Mike, and about 25 yards down the field, I was going to cut and go towards the punt returner real hard. And when I planted to make that cut, there went my. And
it probably negated the what would have been a great
we'll never know
player.
Major League Baseball draft was last night as well. I've got all those first round picks.
Yeah, give us some information on that, Mike. We're going to our phones. Let's see who this is. Good morning.
Hey, Bill and Mike. This is Billy Hickson. How you doing?
Hey, Billy Hickson. Billy. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good. I just came back through the house and I thought what y'all were talking about the cable company and all, and Bill's article in the Troy Life about you, and just wanted to call and tell you congratulations on that.
I do appreciate it. I do. I really do.
Well, you think about the Billy's graduated from class of '83 like I did from Pike Liberal Arts. I graduated from Charles Henderson, but so he is a big Pike Liberal Arts man, deservedly so. His mom taught there for decades. Billy, you think about all the events that Mike and Troy Cable have covered at Pike Liberal Arts?
Oh yeah, that's. I've told Mike before. I've got Troy Cable out here in the country, and that's the main reason, or probably the only reason I've got Troy Cable is the local sports. Before I had a dish like everybody else out in the country, but once I got the opportunity to get Troy Cable, I changed sports coverage, and I always look forward to watching those games and the replays, and probably the best thing I liked is when he go around all the high schools and do the interviews with the players and cheerleaders.
Oh yeah, I love what we had with that Pike Liberal Arts football night. Was one of the fun deals I did every year with the little girls, the Pee Wee boys, all the way up to the varsity boys. I don't know if anybody covered that any more than Troy Cable.
Y'all did a great job at that, and I enjoyed watching all the other high schools. I love high school sports in general, but I would like to watch every school and see all the players.
I did too, Billy. I mean, because you would say, well, that's so and so's son or grandson, and then it wasn't just your school. I was watching Goshen and Pike County High School too.
Yeah, a lot of those kids, especially which now the older you get, the less you know on those kids. But a lot of them I coached in rec ball and watched them grow up. It's always good to see them being interviewed and whatnot.
What I like more than anything, I mentioned it earlier, that I love playing, broadcasting those championship games, especially in baseball. And Pike Liberal had really had a lot of success, and those things that you were able to tape, you could see it forever. You could see you probably got tapes right now you could watch for a long time.
Yeah, I need to go by there and get some of those older tapes. There's one game in particular I want to get. It's when Rush was 14, I think, and it was in the World Series, and I think we were in Enterprise, and I kind of helped you do the play-by-play on that game, but we ended up getting beat, but it was one of those great baseball games, and I'd love to get a copy of that particular game.
You're right. Those summer league games, they would televise those. I mentioned the Rock Hill game, but it was state tournaments all over for decades.
When they moved when they decided, Billy, to come back to Troy and build pitchers' mounds on those softball fields and back up the bases to something like 58 feet or something like that, you had four of the best fields you could play on, in baseball, rec ball, and they really did a great job with that field. And then we started hosting, not only state championship, but world championships. Troy Cable could go way back with those kind of pimps.
Yeah, but I just won't take much more of your time, but I just came through, and I had to get out early today, and I came back through, and I saw it, so I just wanted to...
Well, let me ask you a couple of things before you get off. Post 12, I got where they split a pair with Tupelo. That was probably one of Mississippi's best teams, and we split with them. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that they ended up winning 2 and losing 1, and got rained out.
Yeah.
Sunday, so they didn't play any then.
We were talking about about the city of Troy's rec ball, and we're talking about a tournament going on right now out of the Sportsplex with the 8-year-olds and under, 8-year-old and under. Tell us about that. How many tournaments do they have out there? What do you think?
Well, I was out there last night.
And I rode by there, and there was a huge crowd, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was packed. Troy won. They got beat by AUM in the first game, and then they came back and beat Opelika.
Oh, that was a big game.
And they're playing AUM again today at 9. It's changed to 10, I was told. But now, I'll tell you what, I've watched a lot of baseball, and I enjoy watching these 8-year-olds as much as any of it. Those kids can play the game.
Wow.
They know what they're doing. I mean, it's just amazing as 8-year-olds how much they know about baseball.
At one time, the Little League was 11 and 12, but, like you said, the quality, you used to have your pre, you had your 10 and 11-year-olds and the 11 and 12-year-olds. But now you have a 8-year-old And like you said, the quality of the ball is just, they say it's just outstanding.
Troy turned a double play last night that was just perfect. I mean, it was.
Do you know any of those players on that 8-year-old group?
They turned 8-year-olds turned a double play.
Oh yeah, and it was real good. I mean, I was really impressed with that. I mean, they catch line drives, fly balls, and their base running is really good. I mean, you can tell they've been well coached through the years, and it's just a joy to watch.
Well, hey, you watch out. The Hicksons are scouting already.
Yeah, that's right. But your kids went through all of that, though, quality, and of course I don't know if your kids went through the 8-year-old group, but that is really something. Now let me ask you about today. They play AUM on Montgomery, and play at 9 o'clock. Is this a double elimination?
Billy just said they've been pushed it back to 10.
All right, is this a double elimination game or what?
Mm-hmm. Well, since Troy has double elimination and Troy's lost one, they've got to beat AUM twice. I think the way they've got it bracketed, they've got 2 different brackets, and the bracket winner plays the other bracket winner for the championship.
Yeah. So AUM is undefeated. Is that right?
That's right, and they beat us 4-3 yesterday in that first game.
Boy, that was a great game.
Heartbreaker.
Well, who did y'all play last night that had so many people there?
That was Opelika.
Well, I mean, I was coming back from the beach, and I told my wife to ride down there, and let me tell you, that parking lot was jam-packed.
I would like to see a list of the teams, because I want to see how many of them are from so far away that they're probably spending the night in Troy. I bet a lot of them.
There's a bunch of them. I tell you, there's like 25 teams.
So there's teams from near the Tennessee line that are here.
I'll tell you this: your Opelika team probably spending the night. I know they.
I know the teams are probably staying here.
Yeah. I know there's a Millbrook team, Prattville, Taylor Rehoboth, not Taylor. It's up near Tuscaloosa, Mountville.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think there's a Tuscaloosa team in it.
But you know something about it, the fans. I'm looking at the fans. These are 8-year-old kids, and these are parents that are watching their sons and play tournament ball probably for the first time. You don't get any better than this program here in Troy, Alabama, with the facilities, and it doesn't get any better than Troy putting on and Dan Smith and his bunch putting on a tournament.
Yeah, they do a great job, and I tell you, this rain has just killed the tournament.
Did it kill it last night? Was it heavy rain last night?
Yeah, it came a flood. They were scheduled to play at 3.
Oh man.
3:30, before 3, clouds started and the lightning struck, and they had to push it back, and then it came a flood. Those fields were soaked, and by 6 o'clock we were playing. So, I mean, you got to tip your hats to the grounds crew. They working their tail off.
I tell you, you're right, exactly. They do a super job getting it ready.
Yeah, that's a good point, too.
Well, I'm going to run out there this morning. I bet you they got a hot cup of coffee out there knowing that concession stand.
Why would you want a hot cup of coffee on the hot morning?
No, hey, listen, it's still early day to me. But
they're scheduled to play AUM at 10. So,
okay, good. I'm going to try to make it.
Who's the new Troy University baseball coach going to be? I have no idea. I hadn't heard many names.
Did all that surprise you?
Well, you know who we've been speculating. We haven't been shy about speculating. We've mentioned one name.
What?
Well, I think he coached at Pike Liberal Arts for about 5 years.
Well, let me ask you this, Billy. He could coach at any level, don't you think?
Yeah, he can. He would be a good fit for that.
Yeah. I mean, he has the background to coach college ball, don't you think?
He does. He's I don't reckon he's ever coached college yet, but he's got that stature and knowledge, and I think he would be good in that role. But I don't know what his future is as far as what he wants to do, if he wants to get in coaching or if he wants to stay in high school ball.
Hey, I was reading something in the Messenger today. Walker Stallworth and Parker Sessions pitched a 2-hitter and still lost the game. That was a tough one, wasn't it?
Oh, God.
No, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah. But, that was just an article.
It's always tough when you do that and lose.
Now, your boy's the coach, isn't he?
He is. Rush is coaching the older team, and Ross coaches the younger team.
Boy, I know that has to be fun for you, doesn't it?
It is. Actually, the other night, they actually played each other.
They did? Who won?
Well, Rush has the upper hand. He's coaching the 19U, and Ross is coaching the 17U. So he beat him pretty good the other night. They do this every year. They'll play each other, and most of the time it's pretty close. But the other night, I think Rush beat him 16-2.
Oh gosh. Well, I would like to ask you this. I haven't been able to keep up with our left-handed pitcher. How has he done this summer? Do you know?
Yeah, I've seen some posts. He's been doing really good.
How good is he? He's going to pitch for Pike Liberal next year, I reckon. And how good is he?
He's probably as good as advertised.
And of course, we're talking about
Nelson,
and I considered him young because I watched him grow up, but he has really, of course, his daddy. You got to give his daddy some credit because, and you worked with your boys, and he has definitely worked with him. What makes this kid different than a lot of guys his age?
I go back to this a lot. It's God-given talent for one thing, but then any athletic, you've got to have the heart to want to be good. Now, there's a lot of good kids that's got good, that's good physically, but the mental aspect of it, to me, is what sets kids apart from other kids that really go to the next level. And I think he's just got that mental. The want to be good, and of course he's naturally good, but then you just got to work to get that to that next level like he's got.
And the thing about him, he could be he also plays football and basketball. He's real good in all of them, don't you think?
Yeah, he is, but his left arm is what's going to get him.
Do you think
to the next level?
Is he throwing the ball 90 miles an hour yet?
He's probably getting close. I hadn't heard any velocity numbers this summer, but
he's getting bigger and stronger.
He'll get there.
He's still got another year to get big and strong before he does anything, don't you think?
Yeah. I did see a post, a little video highlight where he hit I think he hit a double off the wall, a triple for a game-winning hit in one game a couple of weeks ago. And then I've seen him some pitching highlights where he's done good. So I guess to answer your question, he's
now he plays for a team out of Atlanta, or where is he playing?
Yeah, I think it's that East Cobb.
Yeah. Now let me ask this: Auburn doesn't really have locks on this kid. I mean, he's committed to Auburn.
You want to go to Star Vegas to play for Mississippi State now?
Yeah. What if Mississippi State started coming after him?
I don't know. Usually in baseball, if you commit, and other teams leave you alone. Once you commit.
Yeah.
See, now you can get endorsements, Dad. He'll get an endorsement by somebody else.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Wiley Sanders truck line.
The Sanders line. I'm mentioning it.
Crow's Chicken.
Yeah, that's right.
Some kind of sponsor.
Isn't that something? That's something. I tell you.
Sister's restaurant.
We're laughing, but at the same time, it could happen.
Yeah, there's nothing to stop it now.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all. I'm sure you did watch a lot of the World Series, and the Mississippi State had a kid that wore his pants above his knee. I don't know if y'all.
No, I didn't notice it.
Yeah, he tries to look like Chipper Jones.
He wore them way right above his kneecap. Yesterday I was watching those 8-year-olds.
I don't know, we can do. You're right.
I noticed them on AUM. They had 3 or 4 kids with their pants above their knees. These athletes that don't think they make an impact on kids.
Exactly. You know,
to watch what they do.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know, back to talking about our pitcher, Drew Nelson. What? Now, did somebody teach him to throw the change up, or did it just come natural to him, or what's the deal there? Because it is by far his best pitch, isn't it?
It is. I think give his daddy credit for that. He would never let him throw a curveball.
You mean he doesn't throw a curveball?
He does now.
No, he doesn't throw a curveball. He right now he made a little bit now, but when he was growing up, he never threw a curveball. He had that change up, and he could spot his fastball. And that's what he lived by.
And the ball.
That's what happened to Marcus Bryant when he was young. Man, he was the greatest pitcher there was. It was him and Brian Meadows. And they're both just equals growing up. And Marcus threw so many curveballs, I think it messed up his arm.
You know, I think that's something to that. You're right.
Yeah, there's a lot of people now.
Yeah, okay.
Tell them that
curveballs.
Lines are full.
Because it does put so much torque on your elbow and stuff, and when you're not fully developed. And
Tommy John put you out for 2 years.
I want to tell you my story. I pitched for the Dixie Youth and loved it for the Astros. And when I was 12 years old, we played on the tournament team. We finished second in the state in Montgomery. I was one of the 3 pitchers. I could throw the ball harder than anybody in Troy, Alabama when I was 12 years old. But here's what I did. I threw so many dang pitches in the game. I threw my arm out when I was 12, 13 years old. Because, I would strike out 14 players a game, but I'd also walk 10 players a game. And I was doing this over and over and over and over again. And to this day, my right arm and shoulder hurts. I mean, I can feel it. And so, I wish I had some parent or coach back then that would say, hey, kid,
that's right.
You are throwing, you don't need to be throwing 100 pitches a game when you're 12 years old.
Well, you're a good example.
Sounds like you were Andy Blair before Andy Blair came around.
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I wasn't him, but it was just funny that, I could zip it by people when I was 12 years old, but by the time I was 15 years old, I could not zip it by people anymore. So it was something that's happened.
Of course, Billy, you're a good example of having two kids, that became good pitchers. But the one thing was really unusual, and everybody says, "Oh, he throws the ball 90 miles an hour," and how does he do that? Well, it's strictly God-given, isn't it? I mean, throwing the fastball is a God-given talent. Is that right?
It is. There's a few things you can do mechanically to get a few more.
Like a cut fastball or something like that, or what?
Yeah, but once you get, you see kids, there's some kids, and big kids that you would think would throw the ball 100 miles an hour, but they can't hardly break a window pane. And I've asked the question a lot of times to people, how can some people throw it fast and some not? And because your arm's the same, I mean, I just don't understand it. It's hard to.
Well, let me ask this: did both of your boys throw 90 miles an hour?
Brian Meadows always said, Dad, you got to have strong legs. Brian Meadows had really strong legs. It's really your lower body where you get the strength to throw more than your upper body.
That lower body gets you that next step, probably. But you can watch kids. I was watching 8-year-olds last night throw the ball, and you could pick out the ones that had the cannon versus the ones that kind of lobbed it.
Did that team have a superstar or a really outstanding player?
Which one?
The Troy 8-year-olds.
Yeah, they've got a lot of them. I'm not going to call a lot of names, but their infield is as solid of infield as you want to look at. I mean,
Who coaches them?
Baseman, and I can't remember his name. His last name's Elliott. But he made one play. They had a runner on first, and he goes to his left and dives and catches the ball and turns around and throws it for second and got the lead runner out.
Oh, boy. That's awesome.
I'm sitting there with a bunch of guys, and I said, I can't believe he turns around, has a presence, turn around and get the guy out at second when he's going to the left and he's right there at first base. And I didn't think he'd get the guy out at second, to tell you the truth. But
that Elliott name comes, there's an Elliott out of Luverne. I wonder if he's from Luverne.
No, he goes to Troy Elementary.
Oh, he does? Okay.
That's him in Troy. And the first baseman is Michael Precise's kid.
Oh, okay.
He's really good. He plays first base like he's done it all his life.
Uh-huh.
And, third base is Cole Cleveland. He plays lights out. And then the shortstop's Noah Holden. And that kid's outstanding. So,
that's unreal. You know, back to your son.
Hey, I'm look forward to watching these kids develop the next 9 years.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, you had two boys that played a lot of baseball, and one of them threw 90 miles an hour for Troy. And he wasn't big as a mitt, and he probably didn't weigh 150 pounds much. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's about right.
100, and he threw the ball 90 miles an hour.
I mean, some people doubt it.
Now, your older son, now, did he throw the ball that hard?
Well, he got in college. He bumped to 90 a few times, but he was more 88, 89. But he had a really good curveball that Rush never had.
If Rush would have had that, if he'd had that curveball, no telling what he would have done. Don't you agree?
Yeah. If he'd have had the curveball Ross had, he'd have had another out pitch. But he had a better slider than Ross had.
You know, your daddy was an athlete at Troy, and evidently played in these summer leagues in Troy, and these old
softball leagues.
Yeah, those old Sunday afternoon baseball leagues and everything, and he did that pretty much. So your daddy tutored you a little bit. Did he work with you in the cow pasture?
Yeah, we hit several ground balls and stuff throughout the year.
Did you mow you out? Did you ever do much at home and out in the fields?
Oh yeah. We were more at the yards at the south pasture.
Was Rush over at Troy? Was he recruited when Brad Phillips was the pitching coach for Smart? You know, he's at South Alabama now and has done a great job at South Alabama. He used to be the head baseball coach at Paul Sanderson.
Yeah, he coached Rush's junior year at Troy.
I bet everybody liked him too, didn't he?
Oh yeah, they called him pretty regular. They still keep in touch.
Well, I tell you what, you've got quite a family, Billy, and it all started with your granddaddy. I mean, their granddaddy.
Troy is in Pike County is a baseball territory. It's interesting, Mike. You can probably tell us where it goes back to, but I mean, it predates Chase Riddle.
I go all the way back to of course.
You talked about Troy was playing Opelika last night. I can remember I was in junior high school, 1979. Billy would have been in the 8th or 9th grade. And my brother Rush and Mark Davis took me to a state tournament in Dothan. It was Troy versus Opelika, Dixie Majors, the older kids. And watched it was a great game. You know why I remember that game? There was a brawl that broke out in like a Metro League between Troy and Opelika.
Hey, Dad, we got Wally Sanders coming on now.
Yeah, we got Wally Sanders truck lines coming on now.
But I mean that was a lot of people that went to see a summer tournament game between Troy and Opelika. You know, in 1980, there was huge interest in baseball.
Well, Billy, you know what, boy, there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of rivalry there in those leagues, isn't it? They played each other every summer. A lot of those teams did, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
You know who I bet was on that team? Jeff Curvin was on that team, I think. Doug Kitchens might have been, Michael Thomas, Ben Smith.
We gotta go.
So
he's waving us up.
All right, we gotta go.
Hey, Billy, do call back. We